Hello everyone, this is General Johnny Idiot here, back at it again with another video. So I'm just gonna get to the point on this video. A couple weeks ago, a user on Discord has sent me a video in which a YouTuber was criticizing another YouTuber for engaging in e-begging because that YouTuber is apparently in debt off of YouTube, right? I'm not going to mention any names here because, quite frankly, I'm not interested in talking about that YouTube drama. But what I am interested in talking about is the whole thing regarding YouTubers complaining about making money, complaining about money off of YouTube, as well as giving a more detailed um video that showcases my opinions when it comes to like YouTubers making money online or whatever, right? The reason why I say this is because if you guys know anything about about me, you would know that about my trolling days almost 10 years ago at this point, which is kind of crazy. And one of the things that I used to get a lot of criticism and a lot of hate for is that I would be compared to guys like Clay Claymore and guys like Ace Salieri, in the sense that they would think that I'm very opposed to the idea of people making money online, and I have this weird vendetta against people making money um off YouTube or whatever, right? Um Keep in mind, by the way, um I'm not like what I'm trying to find the word. I'm not like throwing that opinion onto Ace Salieri or Clay Claymore or whatever. I don't really, again, they're irrelevant in that regard. It's not, that's irrelevant, right? I'm not going to be discussing those two individuals or, my opinion on them or whatever, right? That's irrelevant. However, I'm just saying that I would be constantly, the main gist of the argument is that people would constantly say that I have this weird vendetta against people making money off of YouTube or whatever, right? Um, Now, admittedly, part of it is because it was my fault mostly, because I was just a troll on the internet. And obviously when you're on the internet and you just say stuff just to get people annoyed and pissed off with you, then they're not going to give you full charitability, right? And I can accept that. I'm not going to like hold I don't like hold these weird grudges over people over mindless internet bullshit that doesn't really matter now. Um However, I really want to make this video just to address my opinion on the whole thing once and for all, okay? Do I have an issue with people making money off of YouTube? The answer is no. I don't have an issue with people making money off of YouTube. Do I consider YouTube a real job? Under under certain circumstances, yeah, sure, why not? I consider YouTube a job. For me, a job is very simply something that you make money off of, that helps sustain your living, okay? And it doesn't have to be a comfortable living. It's just something that you make money off of that helps you sustain your living, right? If there was like an amateur toy maker who made a living, not a very rich living or whatever, but made like a humble living, like making toys in his basement and selling them online or whatever, I would consider that a job. And at that point, it's honestly, I think that toy maker example is a very apt comparison, except in this case, it isn't toys, it's YouTube videos, right? So look, I don't have an issue with people making money off of YouTube, and I don't have an issue considering YouTube like a job, right? Is it a job in the traditional sense where you actually go to like a company, you get like a contract or have like a self-employed business or whatever? No, obviously not. But it's its own type of job, right? The thing that I do have an issue with, okay, and this is the main crux of my arguments, because genuinely speaking, my opinion hasn't really evolved in any way. Like, I still have like the same opinions. It's just that back in the day, I portrayed it in a more, again, trollish, aggressive, cynical way, right? The issue that I have is seeing people, seeing YouTubers online complain about monetization or not making enough money off of their YouTube videos or whatever. That is the issue that I have with a lot of YouTubers, okay? And allow me to explain why I have this issue, okay? Let's just start off by saying that YouTube, at the end of the day, is a blessing, okay? It really is. And anybody who tries to argue against that is a moron, okay? Like, just being blunt, okay? The simple fact of the matter is, without any financial sacrifice whatsoever, you can go and upload your content on the internet, okay? On the internet. And people can view your content, and if you get popular enough, you can make some money off of your internet, off of your content, right? That is a fact, okay? There's no financial sacrifice to get into YouTube. You don't have to pay any money. There's no obligations into getting into YouTube, so it's not like they make an obligation where you have to work like a set amount of hours or whatever. You can literally upload BS content that I'm uploading right now, and that literally takes like 10 or 20 minutes to make. And you have the same opportunity as someone who makes like very edited videos, getting noticed and getting some cash, right? The thing that irritates the fuck out of me, and the reason why I really cannot stand it when YouTubers complain about money, is that YouTube does not owe you money. Okay, that's just a fact. They don't owe you money. Okay, you're not entitled to the money that is getting produced. Okay, this goes back to my earlier point that YouTube is not like a traditional job, like a 9 to 5, for example, to where, let's say, sales are going down at the company, right? Unless it was like so severe to where like the company has to like clearly cut corners, most of the time you're guaranteed like the same salary that you had when you signed up for the contract in the first place. Okay, you're guaranteed the exact same salary, whether or not the company is making more sales or less sales. Obviously, when it comes to like commission, that's another thing. And when it comes to if the company's like severe financial crisis, you might experience a pay cut, right? But again, generally speaking, for most jobs, that is like the thing. Whatever you go into, regardless of how the company is doing, if the company is, doing below average or above average, you're going to be making the same amount every single time. The same cannot be said about YouTube, okay? If you are not making money off of this website, the simple or enough money off of this website, that is a problem exclusively for you, okay? And no, complaining about demonetization or anything like that is not valid. Look, let's just cut the bullshit for a second and just address this at hand, okay? YouTube can alter their rules to however way they want to. They could make a rule right now where they say, if you have a green background in your video, like what I do right now with this little setup that I have right now, no ad revenue for you. You just get no money. That's it. Green background, that's it. Okay? Now, you don't have to agree with that. Okay? And look, there's a lot of things that YouTube does when it comes to like demonetization or flagging channels or whatever that I genuinely don't agree with, okay? And I'm not going to like pretend that YouTube is perfect in that regard, but what I am saying is that the money that you get off of YouTube is not something that you are entitled to, okay? It just isn't. If YouTube wanted to, out of literally any day of the week, They could just look at your content, say that they don't like it, and boom, you're off. That's it. No more money, no more videos. You don't even get the free exposure. Your channel is just taken down. And that's what's really just annoying about the whole thing, is that a lot of these YouTubers who complain about money, they don't seem to, honestly, I think a lot of them do understand this. I just think they just don't seem to care. And they're trying to manipulate their audience into supporting them more financially, which is just, it's just an unacceptable thing. And again, this leads to my other point. I don't have an issue with people, by the way, making Patreon accounts and making money off of Patreon. So I don't want people to misrepresent me in the comment section below on that. I do have an issue with, again, people e-begging essentially and being like, hey, I'm not making enough money, give me more money. Because again, it just shows a clear level of entitlement and honestly greed. And yeah, I would say greed as well. I know that's like a harsh way to describe it. But like, you know, it's a very like inappropriate thing. Okay, you should not be doing that. Okay. And you know, look, again, I don't want people in the comment section to think that I am like a YouTube simp. I have a lot of issues with YouTube. Okay, trust me, I do. And I do have some issues with how they structure the type of content that is being produced on the internet. Okay, I get it. And I understand that YouTube is not perfect in this type of thing. And look, there's a lot of genuine criticisms that can be made towards YouTube. I mean, like, they gave, what was it? I remember when the whole EDP thing happened like a few years ago, they were, you know, flagging commentary channels that was simply just discussing and talking about the whole EDP thing, which I think is absurd. And it's especially more absurd given how in recent or earlier this year they gave Dr. Disrespect monetization off of YouTube, which honestly, those two things combined make me think that there's like some very nefarious figures within the YouTube company, as a little conspiracy theory. But again, that's neither here nor there, right? The point is that YouTube is obviously not perfect when it comes to this thing, but the deal they have genuinely is pretty good. Okay, you can go on the internet, upload your content for free. You don't have to spend a single dollar to do so. And in return, you get free exposure and potentially free ad revenue. Okay? But again, it's not something that you are entitled to. And that's what's really frustrating about the whole YouTubers complaining about demonetization thing. Okay? And in the case that I was mentioning earlier when it comes to this whole e-begging fiasco, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but it's painfully obvious that in this case, this person is just really bad at managing their finances, which makes it even more egregious, where it's like they just are bad at managing their finances, so in return, they basically want their fans to spend money to help them out in that regard, which again, it's not something that you should be doing, and honestly, it's a pretty unethical practice, I would say, you know, just being really blunt, you know? And the last point I will make is this, okay? The last few points, actually. If you really want to make more money, okay, there are 3 ways. There's probably more ways, but there are 3 easy ways, to do so. Or they're not easy, but there are 3 ways to make more money, okay? The first way is this. If you think YouTube is a job, sure, cool, whatever. Treat it like an actual job then. If your videos are not making the same amount, they're not making that many views, and and as a result, you're not getting a lot of exposure and a lot of ad revenue or anything like that, then guess what? Treat it like an actual job. Upload more content. Diversify your content. Make it to where people would want to actually go out there and engage with your shit, so you get more money in the long run. Like, really grind it, basically. Like, treat it like a job, you know? A good example of that, and I'll get this is I have no opinion on this individual, so please do not like assume that I think this guy is a good YouTuber or whatever, because I don't really know anything about him. But of FouseyTube, right? From what I'm aware, FouseyTube was like known for uploading like prank videos originally, about like 10 years ago. And I believe it was around 2021, 2022. Again, I don't know anything about his content, so somebody in the comment section could correct me on this. But he realized that the whole YouTube thing wasn't really going anywhere, so he decided to diversify his content and make in real life streaming, right? And that actually did put him on the map and give him like a lot of exposure and a lot of ad revenue in the process. Again, now granted, this was probably mostly on Twitch or something. Again, I did not look into this. But the point that I'm trying to make is that FouseyTube, rather than just fade into irrelevancy and say, well, screw it, I guess I make no more money, he rebranded himself into something else that people actually want to watch, okay? That is the first solution, is to do that, okay? The second solution, and this is the easy peasy solution, honestly, is to just sell out and make the YouTube content that YouTube really, really wants you to make, okay? A good example of this, and again, this is not a dig to this individual, same as how the first example was not a dig to FouseyTube. Again, I don't know anything about him. But the second, this individual is Miss Rachel, right? Again, I'm not criticizing Miss Rachel. I have nothing against her whatsoever, okay? So this is not me trying to criticize her or anything like that. But it's painfully obvious that the type of content that she makes, like, she clearly knows that the type of content that she's uploading is something that a lot of parents want on, they just want easy, white noise content that their young, infant children, like infant and toddler children, can listen to and enjoy, right? And YouTube wants that content on their website now. That's just how YouTube is, right? Again, I'm not criticizing her for that. I'm just stating that that's like the factual reality of the situation, right? That's the second way, is to just, you know, I hate saying it like that, where you sell out, because it has like a negative connotation to it, but it really, but I don't really know how else I can describe it. Basically, you sell out and just make the content that YouTube really, really wants to promote, okay? That's the second way. The third way, and this is again just the simple fact of the matter, just get a real job. Like, get a I shouldn't say real job, because I don't want people to take my word out of context or whatever and be like, oh, you said YouTube is a job though, okay? Get a more traditional job, okay? Get a more traditional 9-to-5 and make YouTube as like a side gig where you earn some extra money on the side, right? The e-beggar example that I was referring to in this video, when you actually, again, I'm not going to give any names, okay? But when you actually go to their channel, you could see they upload like one like a video every like 4 months, okay? If that's fine, but like, again, how in the world could you sit there and then start to complain about you just not making enough money, right? Especially since this individual has a stacked Patreon and made some really, really good views on his videos. So a lot of ad revenue or whatever. But again, that's neither here nor there, okay? So yeah, I mean, it really does come down to, like, at the end of the day, instead of like complaining about this shit and being entitled, you have to adapt a little bit. And that requires hard work. I agree. Same as how, you know, when you're working at your real job, that requires hard work too. Or not real job, but traditional job. That requires hard work too. Okay? And I'm just going to end this video on this because it's already getting kind of long, and I apologize. But I'm going to end this video on this last point. It really gets just annoying seeing a a lot of these YouTubers complain about this sort of thing. And if you really do have like a big issue with it, and there's other YouTubers that have a huge issue with it, then organize a boycott or a strike of some kind, okay? Go and pressure a lot of top content creators, okay? A lot of top YouTubers, and say, look, join our movement where we're not going to upload any content that people want to see on YouTube, okay? That's it. We're not going to upload anything. Very simple, okay? Until we get the proper changes that we want, okay? Now, granted, admittedly, I think that would be pretty ridiculous, and I don't think that would go anywhere, but I still, and I'm sorry, I did not mean to scream into the microphone, but I still think that that is a, I would at least respect their, complaining just a little bit if they actually went into that pathway, because that's something that actually does require a little bit of financial sacrifice. But unfortunately, they're not willing to do that, and instead they're willing to just complain about this shit, and that's what really gets on my nerves, okay? Anyways, that is all for this video. I apologize if I kind of rambled, and I hope I gave a more detailed explanation on my opinions regarding this whole thing. Yeah, this is Megadupe, Kevin, bro man, General Johnny, moron, idiot, whatever, I don't care. You guys have a good day.